Rachel, please explain why this will work.
They needed him. They needed an upgrade here. Look, no player on the Clippers has averaged even 6 assists since Kawhi and Paul George got there. James Harden averaged nearly 11 last season, led the league. Also, you have to look at the fact that he plays, and you have 2 superstars who, of course, have missed huge chunks of time. Neither one of them, since they got there, has ever been able to play even up to 2/3 of the season. In fact, if you look at the numbers, you're talking about 147 games in 4 years that Kawhi has missed, 119 regular season games in the 4 years since PG joined the team. So they need that guy. And when you sit there and talk about, well, where will Harden play compared to Russell Westbrook? What will happen when is there enough ball for all of them? All of them will not be on the floor as often as one would like. Ty Lue's problem these past few seasons has been he doesn't have the bodies. And this is now another highly, highly talented player who not only can be there when 1 or 2 of the other guys cannot, but he spaces the floor in the way that Russell Westbrook doesn't. We saw that just the other night in Utah. They can go small much more confidently now. And by the way, they can also bring in PJ Tucker to play that small number 5 position when they're undersized. That could end up being very lethal for the Clippers. And by the way, PJ Tucker, not so bad on Nikola Jokic last year when he played for the Sixers. Now, he had Joel Embiid nearby. That helps. But they did put PJ on Jokic.
Fair point.
And he held his own. So that's another advantage,
Rachel,
too.
are you suggesting that Russell Westbrook is sort of the odd man out here, that he's headed to the bench or to the second unit, or his minutes are going to be dramatically reduced? Is that where we're heading, according to your view?
Well, look, I think all 3 of us agree that Ty Lue is one of the most talented X and O coaches in the game. He will figure out a way to use all 4 of these guys in a smart fashion. And he's also really, really great at relaying to players and making them accept roles they might not normally accept. Again, I don't think you're going to see all 4 guys available for as many games as the Clippers would like. I don't think this is going to be a problem for as many games as people are prognosticating. You know, the LA Clippers certainly hope it'll be a problem, but it hasn't been so far if you looked at the amount of games these guys have played.
Do you want to at least listen to her, Skip? Because you wouldn't listen to me when I basically told you.
I've tuned you completely out.
Of course you did. And I tried to tell you X and O. You sided with Richard on this. All they do is run ISO ball, ISO ball.
There's a lot of ISO ball going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of ISO ball with a lot of stars in the NBA because I'm better than you. But you just basically excluded Ty Lue by calling it ISO ball as if he doesn't have any X and O's in his pocket with the type of team that he's putting on the floor now.
It's a players' league. Ultimately.
As I said to you before, as you sided with Richard, that all of a sudden there won't be enough minutes for everybody. That's not true. Rachel just sat here and just said to us that the lineups are going to vary. They're not going to all be on the floor at the same time. The same thing I said. I said, hey, you're going to...
they will be on the floor at the same time some of the time, but just not all the time.
Not all the time. You start a guy, and then you take him and you put him on the second unit. Doesn't mean he's got to stay with the first unit the entire time.
Just 2 weeks ago, Russ was talking about, I got to get back to being Russ. I need to get back to averaging 20, 11, and 12.
Okay. Skip, that's not what he said.
But
we argued about this last week. If you listen to the whole quote, right? I mean, I think he was saying people expect that of him as being back to Russ, and that he said he's the only one who can set that standard.
And
he can agree to disagree on that.
And if he's on the second unit, he can still average a triple-double. Doesn't mean that triple-double has to be...
Not on the second unit?
He certainly can contribute
How
more.
could you not average
triple-double?
How could you not? All he need is 10, 10, and 10.
Okay, but you're going to play enough minutes on the second unit to get your 10, 10, and 10?
Yes, if he's the guy who's leading the second unit, and he could score at the cup and get whatever, call it 10, and get his 10 boards, and facilitate when he's on the floor, you act like second unit players of his caliber only play 10 minutes a game, Skip.
By the way, James Harden is going to get him some better looks right near the basket, which is where he is still the most effective. And look, all of this, Skip, you are right, what you said earlier on the show today.
Don't tell me
he is, because it depends on Russell Westbrook and James Harden buying in that neither one of them is going to hold on to the ball as much as they have in the past.
Okay.
But here's what I would say, Skip, is that as players age, they accept more. They understand where they are in the league. Russell Westbrook was a free agent this summer. He had no takers. James Harden
takers.
tried to get himself to another team this summer. He had no takers.
One taker.
These guys know that if they don't make this work, they might be out of the league.
Okay, just at first glance, my biggest issue is you now have, under Ty Lue, the two biggest coaching headaches in the league. And I don't care what you say, both of them, but they just are. Those two, in and of themselves, biggest coaching headaches you can find in the league. And I'm going to remind you, they're both ball dominant. They play the same position. And I like Rachel's point about if you want to tell me it's just a flat-out upgrade of James over Russ, I got you. And I'm with you on that because I'm a much bigger James fan than I am a Russ fan. Russ is double jeopardy nightmare because he's going to have the possibility of leading the league in turnovers. And since he came into the league, is the single worst three-point shooter in all of basketball. And by the way, over the last 7 years, James and Russ have been 1-2 in turnovers in the league. So you have to accept the fact they're going to turn the ball over. So you can't have them as your starting backcourt. That's insanity to me. Those two do not fit in the same backcourt. Maybe for 4 or 5 minutes a game, you can try to play them together, but don't get me started on defense. Even though Russ will try occasionally on defense, he just loses his mind. He doesn't play lockdown, focused defense because he's much more focused on the other end of the floor.
Again, I can only point to a handful of guards that play defense in the NBA. Well, that's just not what the league is.
Okay. I would predict that you will see them starting together at the beginning of this experiment because Ty Lue needs all of them to feel like they are a part of this. Then it becomes a question of who finishes games. And that's really the answer with Russ. He can start or not start. That doesn't really affect the game in a substantive way. And if it's better for his timing and his body, and Russ is maybe one of the biggest creatures of routine we have in this league, he likes things exactly how he likes them. If he needs to start, him starting is not going to have as much of an effect on the game as whether he finishes or not. Okay. And I would not expect to see him on the floor toward the end as often.
If both start, who literally dribbles the ball up the floor and initiates the offense?
I think that's James. I think that's James
Harden. I do too. I would agree with that.
James Harden.
So you're telling me Russ is going to play two guard for the Los Angeles Clippers?
It's positionless basketball.
Oh, is it?
I was going to say. I mean, he could be. Look, Russ could be listed as the point, but the truth is they're both in the backcourt. And again, I don't see them on the floor at the same time all the time. I think it's going to be a lot of moving in and out. I think he is absolutely right about the fact that Russ will be able to play more of his game if he plays in the second unit. Again, we just saw that with Chris Paul. We are seeing guys who are reaching this phase in their lives understand that they cannot have the same attitudes they had before. This is it. If this doesn't work, it's not only going to be a big deal for Harden and Westbrook. The other reason the Clippers made this move is because you have two guys in Kawhi and Paul George who have player options for next year. That means that they could become free agents this offseason. And you could leave this entire experiment when they've given up so much draft capital and so much time and energy and all the other things that they've done to get these two guys together. They could just walk out the door. Or they could not want to walk out the door and need to be paid a lot of money. So this is the year. This is the season. You have to see whether adding a James Harden can make a difference. Because I will tell you this, when you guys both listed to me at the beginning of the season, here's who I think will be there at the end, neither one of you said the Clippers. Neither one of you even had the Clippers in the conversation. Just even in the Western Conference Finals.
I still don't think they are.
But you didn't even have them in the Western Finals conversation,
No,
right?
I won't have them in the West. No, well, the Clippers.
Here's what I'll say. I think they were out of contention before. I think they have a puncher's chance now. And the way the postseason works, guys get injured, fluky things happen. You just need to be able to be there. And I think the Clippers have given themselves at least a shot to be there.
Did PG and Kawhi sign off on this?
Look, the word is that they were involved and that they knew what was going on. Of course, we can't confirm that because it's the Clippers. They're pretty secretive about that stuff. But clearly, I don't think in any way James Harden would be on this team if those two guys didn't want him there.
Thank you.
So, Rachel, it's amusing to me that you're saying one guy you can depend on to show up every night and actually play basketball on this team is James Harden, who is notoriously not in the greatest shape to play basketball, but he does play.
He's in better shape. By the way, he showed up when he showed up to the Sixers so far this season. He showed up in good shape. And by the way, I'm not saying he's going to be on the court or he's super durable anymore. He was for a really long time. He's not so much anymore because all these guys are getting older. But I do think if you have four guys, by the way, three of them former Finals MVP or MVPs, right? If you have these 4 guys, the idea that at least 2 or 3 of them are going to be able to be on the court at any time is a huge upgrade for a team that has not had that.
Good point.
Thank you for schooling him.
Oh, please.
Really? By the way, Keyshawn has aged 5 years during this show just today. 5 years.
Yeah,
on your
dealing with
life.
you.
I know. I got it. Way to go.
Some people get older and they have to accept it.
That's right. You got to
know?
accept your role.
James
on this
Harden,
show.
Keyshawn
Thank
Johnson.
You. All right. Up next, Kenneth Gainwell responds to a critic on social media at halftime of Sunday's game. We are about to debate and discuss. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.